I have muted everyone's mics, and I also have everyone's videos off, so there will be no recording or no opportunity to speak or things like that because this will be posted publicly. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Hello, I am Monica Lomax. I am your CPT and OPT coordinator. My email address is internationalintl@avila.edu. And that is from here on out, that is the way I would like for everyone to communicate with me is via that email address. Today's topics will be graduation, commencement, program end date, immigration, definitions of OPT, the types available, eligibility, warnings, roadmap, advisements, approvals, filing the I-765, communication, all things surrounding your journey with optional practical training. And we will begin with graduation and commencement. So there is a difference between graduation and commencement. And those differences are one thing is you completing your program, and another thing is the celebration that signifies you completing the program, right? So, graduation, the word graduation, that means that you have completed all of your degree requirements at Avila University and you have earned that degree. However, commencement, that is the ceremony that signifies that a ceremony that signifies that you have completed, right? So, all of our students who have graduated or will graduate in our summer term, they attended commencement this past May, right? Now, all of our students who are graduating in October Fall 1 or December Fall 2, you'll be eligible to walk in the commencement that is happening May 9th of 2026. All right. And for those students, and any student who has not filled out their graduation application, here are the steps to do that. You log into your MyAU account, you go to the academic tab, and you choose student graduation application. Now, for everybody who is in this group, I will tell you that if you have not filled out your graduation application, you need to do so immediately. Everybody who is in this chat, your graduation application was due November 15th, 2024. Okay. Now, the graduation application is what our registrar's office uses to maintain or complete your academic record. So you want to make sure that you get that graduation application in immediately. All right. Now let's go right into it. Optional practical training roadmap. The steps are simple. The steps to CPT are really, really simple. Request, recommend, file, adjudication, decision, report, right? The steps are so very simple. However, each individual step does take time and is heavily involved. So let's go over a quick overview. When you request your OPT I-20, your program end date will be changed to reflect your graduation date, right? So your actual completion date is going to be that graduation date, right? That is what happens in terms of your I-20. Your I-20 is updated to reflect that graduation date. And then from there, you get a 60-day grace period. Within that 60-day grace period, you can wrap up whatever, plan what you want to do next, all of those things. But immediately after the 60-day grace period or on the 61st day, you either need to return to your home country, transfer to another institution, or already be somewhere within that OPT application process. Okay, so 60 days immediately after 60 days following that program end date, you have that grace period. All right. Optional practical training for F1 students is temporary employment that is directly related to your major area of study, right? Eligible students can apply to receive up to 12 months of OPT employment. before completing their academic studies or after completing their academic studies. However, all periods of pre-completion OPT will be deducted from the available period of post-completion OPT. This is important to you guys. Well, first, we don't offer pre-completion OPT. We only offer post-completion OPT. And that is because it's a much better benefit to get it after you've graduated than before. All right. And then with post-completion OPT, that's the original 12-month authorization. And then the STEM OPT extension, that is a 24-month extension for students in designated science, technology, engineering, and mathematics degree programs. If you want a list of what majors qualify for that, then you can go ahead and just Google it and it'll come to you as a PDF and search for the code that is listed on your major. And that's one way to figure out if your degree has a STEM designation. All right. A student is eligible for OPT if the student has been a full-time student for one academic year in a SEVP certified college, university, conservatory, or seminary. A student is not studying English as a second language. The student's proposed employment relates directly to the student's major area of study. The student the student has not used all of their optional practical training at the current level of study, and they have not worked 12 months or more of full-time curricular practical training. I'm going to kind of dive into this a little bit. If you have transferred to Avila University, and say you transferred fall one of last year, right? If you graduate in summer, then you are not eligible for OPT. You have to be here for one full academic year. So fall to fall, spring to spring, summer to summer. Another thing is if you are on your second master's and you're getting the same degree as you have previously received, you are not eligible for CPT or for CPT. You are not eligible for OPT, right? So if you already got a master's degree in computer science, you're not going to, and you came to Avila with a computer science major, you will not get that OPT authorization. Also, if you work 12 months of full-time CPT, you will be denied OPT and you're not eligible for OPT. Right. And I know this is something that I've told a lot of our students because we do have a lot of students on CPT. I tell them 11 months and 20 days because as soon as you hit that 12 months, you don't get your OPT. All right. Now, the STEM extension requirements. It's specifically for students who are in the science, technology, mathematics, and engineering degree field. That's simple. And the Cap Gap extension, that is something that is available for our students who put themselves in the H-1B lottery, right? So up to 180-day gap of your status as you wait on being approved H-1B. I will say with that though, if you are currently in Cap Gap and you request that H-1B, if your H-1B is denied or you don't get entered into the lottery, you are to leave the United States immediately. So be mindful of that. All right, filing timelines. Here are our current OPT filing timelines listed by the earliest and latest dates that a student can apply. Long list short, if your program ends in summer two, which is August 23rd, you can begin to apply. You can apply for OPT as early as May 23rd, which is next week, which is why we are having these webinars this week because it's open for you next week. But you can apply as early as May 23rd, but you cannot apply any later than October 20th, right? Now, if your program ends on October 20th, you can apply as early as July 20th, right? But you cannot apply any later than December 10th. All right. So with these dates, you want to be sure that you plan ahead because filing too early or filing too late or not having your timing correct in this process will affect your eligibility, and it will, if not planned right, cause you to have a overage of unemployment days, which is what we don't want. All right. So we have a few OPT warnings. Our first warning is when you are filing the I-765 form, you want to make sure that your address, phone number, major, concentration, all of that information in CVIS reflects what you put in when in that I-765 form when you file it for that OPT I-20, right? Also, I just want to just be honest. We're currently under a new administration, right? And we've noticed within that new administration that things are changing at a rapid pace. Now, I do my best to keep us all updated with the new rulings and keeping everybody informed. I do my best. However, with the rate of things changing, I do suggest that you guys also make sure you're staying on top of your official regulations, all the DHS things, right? You want to make sure that you are keeping yourself updated as well. Another thing that I want to bring up is that if you want to check, if you want clarity on a regulation, if you need clarification on anything, I suggest you talk to a DSO, okay? I understand that there are Instagram pages and different social media pages that are out there, right? That likes to transcribe what they're seeing in in the rules and regulations, but your DSO team is here. They're hired to stay on top of these regulations. So don't get yourself scared, following social media platforms because there could be misinformation within those groups. Always make sure that if you have high anxiety, follow up with the DSO or look it up yourself. All right. So here is just a brief list of all of the steps, right? The first step in the OPT application process is to follow the procedures established by the university in order to submit your OPT request form. And I will start now I will say this now. This is the reason why you have to register for this event because this webinar is the only required step in your process of getting that OPT I-20. Um, I host these sessions because I want our students to be fully informed. I want our students to be fully confident when they're filing these forms. And I want to make sure that I am not that we service you while you're going through this process. The second step is requesting your OPT endorsed I-20. It's a simple request form that is live. It is live on our standard form stack forms. And tomorrow, once I do kind of a recap of our discussion and I send everybody who registered an email, it will have the live link to that as well, right? And the third step is to sign your OPT endorsed I-20 and file your I-765 form within 30 days of that endorsement. Just a note on the endorsement, if you file your I-765 form more than 30 days after I've endorsed it, your OPT I-20 will be denied. Okay, so be careful with that. All right. After you submit the OPT application, USCIS will send you a Form I-797, also known as a receipt notice, right? That receipt notice has a number, an IOE number listed on it, right? As soon as you receive that receipt notice, your CVIS is updated automatically, so we don't need that form. While your application is being processed, USCIS is going to do a full review of all your activities using any trackable form. So your passport, your visa, your social security number or card, your ID, all of these They are all electronic documents for which you're being tracked. So they're going to check in there, make sure everything's okay. Um, During this time, you might get a request for additional information, or you might get a request for a biometric screening, and that's to verify your identity, verify your attendance, verify whatever, right? Now, once the adjudication process is complete, you'll receive a decision by both email and mail, right? So, and that's whether you're approved or you're denied. Later in the webinar, this webinar, we'll go over what to do when you're denied. So we'll just go ahead and go to what happens when you're approved. When you're approved, you'll receive a employment authorization document in the mail, the EAD card. You may begin working once that EAD card is in hand, okay? And you want to keep in mind that once your OPT is approved, you're allowed 90 days total of unemployment, right? So you get 3 months of being employed as a part of your benefit. However, I suggest that you do not take this full 90 days. I suggest you don't take any of the days because you don't know when you'll actually need those days. And immediately after that 90-day employment mark is up, your OPT will be terminated if you are not employed. Okay, what happens after approval? We went over that. So let's go over what happens when you get a denial. Okay, the first thing that you need to do, and I cannot stress this enough, is to not panic. Do not panic. Although, yeah, you're going to panic, right? Because it's denied, right? You'll panic. I get it. But the first thing is to not, like, do not panic, right? But when you panic anyway, after your panic moment is over, I want you to wait until you receive that piece of paper with your denial reasons and send it to me so we can see if this is something that we can get revisited, right? So I've had a few OPT denials, all OPT denials that I have had, it's been because of minor issues, and I've been able to get those denials reversed, right? So the first thing that you need to do once you're done with your state of sheer panic is to wait until you get that denial and hand it to me so we can see what we can do. All right. And now we're going to do a I-765 walkthrough. And I'll start off this whole thing with a warning, right? Please take your time when you're completing the I-765 form. Okay. Even small mistakes can lead to a denial. And if that happens, if you get denied because of a small reason, you'll have to refile the form and pay for it again, right? And it's also important to know that providing false information on any government form it doesn't just result in a denial. It can lead to serious consequences, including penalties, criminal convictions, all of a bunch of things that nobody wants, right? So we want to take our time and be as accurate as possible when we're filing this form. All right. All right. And so this is what it looks like when you're filing that I-765 form. You will go to USCIS, right? And within USCIS, you're going to create yourself an account. Okay. When you create this USCIS, make sure you're using an email address that you have access to 24/7, right? So when you are creating this USCIS account, do not use your Avila email address. Okay. At the end, at your program end date, when you have graduated, when you are no longer considered to be a student of Avila University, you have 1 year, and then your avila.edu email address will be archived, meaning you will no longer have access to it, right? So when you're doing things like this and you know that you're going OPT for a year plus, you may be on OPT for 3 years. You want to make sure that you're not using your avila.edu email address when you're creating this sign in, when you're creating your USCIS account. But once you get your account created, you choose file a form online. It's the middle, right? Once you choose file a form online, it'll give you the first page detailing what you want to file. right? Once you choose the first box, then the second one will populate. After you choose next on that form, it'll give you a warning. Um, you know, it'll tell you how you're eligible, what makes you eligible, things of that nature. It also has a listing of the eligible visa categories. All right. Then comes the pre-pages for that I-765 application for employment authorization. Read through that. And then, of course, it'll a little bit more about how F1 and OPT, and then it also provides you a cost breakdown. You would click that link to view the Form G1055, which tells you the cost breakdown. All right. Then it tells you about the documents you may need. In there, you have to upload, it tells you you'll have to upload your I-94. You'll have to update or you'll have to upload your state ID. You'll have to upload a copy of a passport style photo that has been taken recently. For all students who are in the area, we do have a headshot machine that you can use, and it does print out photos that are passport style, so you can utilize that. It also lets you know that you might get a biometric services appointment. All right. And then it gives you a breakdown of what happens after you submit your application and completing it online, right? Exactly what happens. When you're filing online, you complete the original sections first, and then it tells you provide as many responses as you can, and then your responses are automatically saved. So should you need to back up and go back to the application, you're able to do that. All right, then there's a DHS privacy notice and a paperwork reduction act, right? And then there's a security reminder which says if you don't work on your application for more than 30 days, we will delete your data in order to prevent storing personal information indefinitely. So you have a 30-day timeline to file that form. All right. So this is inside of that I-765 form. The first step is to let them know your basis of eligibility. So what makes you eligible for this EAD document? You choose what applies to you, and then you move on to whether or not you would like to request premium processing. And I have a quick note on premium processing, right? Most of the students who have applied for OPT early have their OPT within a month or far before their actual program completion date, before they need to be out on OPT, right? And I want our students to keep that in mind. Before you decide that you want to pay about $1,700 for premium processing, keep in mind that if you apply early enough and pay the 470, you're still going to get the same approval and you're still going to get the same result, most likely before you graduate. All right. Here's other questions that are asked at the beginning. Why are you applying? Have you previously filed? Is someone helping you? What is your current legal name, right? And have you had any other name since birth? General questions. All right. How may we contact you? Having a daytime telephone number, a mobile telephone number, and a email address that you have access to at all times is recommended, right? And again, with the email address, please do not use your avla.edu email address. All right. So, what is your current US mailing address? And then as you can see in the corner, it says, is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? And I just want to give all of our students just a note of being cautious, right? When you're listing your mailing address, make sure that this is a place where you can reliably receive your physical mail at all times, right? So we've had situations in the past where A student will put in the address that they're currently living at, but by the time they're on the OPT process, they no longer live there, right? Also, it's if it'll be more beneficial for you, get have your EAD card mailed to the university. And at the very least, you'll know exactly where it is, right? So that's also available to our students if you wanted to do that. Once you put in an address, especially for the mailing address, it's going to recommend an address. Always choose the recommended address, right? Your physical address can be that address where you don't know if you're going to be there by the time your OPT is approved or not. But you want to be mindful of that mailing address at all times. All right. Are you male or female? Are you single, married, divorced, widowed? And then it has questions about where you're from, date of birth. Please be sure to add as much detail in this form as possible and be as correct as possible. All right. And it tells you, it asks you to get your I-9, it asks you to list your I-94 number. Because you're going to be uploading your I-94, you're going to have your I-94 number. It's typically an AO. The number starts with A and it has a zero immediately after. All right. When did you last arrive in the United States? What is the passport number of your recently issued passport? What's your travel document number? The very first thing on there will be listed on your I-94. Make sure it matches your I-94. Your most recent passport number, make sure it's the most recent passport, right? And you want to list everything in detail. Now, what is your student and exchange visitor information system number, if any, for our students who transferred over, or any of our students who have had any circumstance to where they have two different CVIS IDs and one is canceled and one is active? Make sure you're putting the correct number in here. Also, for our students, who's breezing through it, if you're breezing through it, it's easy to skip a zero. It's easy to make a mistake there, and that may cause you issues by not putting in the correct CVIS ID number. So make sure you're putting in the correct number there. Your A number and your USCIS online account number. If this is your first time filing the I-765 form, you will not have either of these numbers. Just leave them blank. Um, the two Social Security Administration questions. If you already have a Social Security number, then go ahead and choose yes, and that second question will go away. However, this is your opportunity to request that Social Security card and number, right? And this will begin processing when you're closer to your OPT start date. So you might not receive your Social Security card until after you receive your approval, because it goes by your actual OPT start date that you list. And a 2x2 photo of you, make sure it is a passport style photo. Make sure that it is clear. Do not upload a selfie. They will deny you and tell you to fix it. All right, and then we go to all the things that they ask you to upload. Your I-94 or your passport. I suggest you upload your I-94. Employment authorization document or government ID. If you do not have a state ID and you have not gotten an EAD card before, now is a perfect time to get your state ID. It does not have to be a driver's license. It can be a state ID. Also, previously authorized CPT or OPT I-20, upload that I-20. All right. And then we've actually come to the end, right? I know this has been a pretty long discussion. Well, not really that long, about 30 minutes. But once you reach this point of the I-765 application, you have two options, right? There's two options available to you. Your first option is to click next, pay the fee, and submit your I-765 form. But there's another option available to you, and that is choosing View Draft Snapshot, printing the PDF of your document out, and making an appointment with me so that I can go over that with you to make sure that everything is clear and correct. Okay? So, if you choose the second option, if you choose to have that meeting with me and have it reviewed, make sure that you are giving yourself a week advanced, because I'm opening my calendar up for appointments, specifically for OPT appointments. However, it may be within a couple of days where I can get you in, right? I want you to bear in mind that I cannot accept same day appointments because I already have appointments scheduled. And again, I will be sending out my personal meeting link to all students when I get the summary out. So it's your choice, whichever one you need. All right. Now, after we've gone through that second review process, you went through and you read everything like a hawk and you made sure you got everything correct, or we sat down, you met with me, and I said, "Hey, you're good to go." That's when we go to your statements. The statement says you can read and understand English. You've read and understand every question. You understand all the instructions that have been given on this application, and you declare that everything you say is correct, right? Once you do that, you will be sent to the payment system. Immediately after you choose yes and sign that information, you will be moved to pay.gov, where you make your $470 payment, or for premium processing, $1,695 payment. And after you submit your payment, then you're done. Now we can breathe. Now we can celebrate. Now we can say, whew, I got it done, right? At that point, it's a huge congratulations to you. I know that in a lot of cases, because you're waiting on it to be approved, or you're waiting to receive an RFE, or you're waiting for some other reasons, I know that you may not be able to fully exhale, but at least at this point, you did the hardest part. The hardest part is filling out the form. All right. And I have one more thing: communication. All right. So there's something really, really, really important that I need our students to know, right? After you have finished your program requirements, you no longer have an academic advisor, you no longer have a dean breathing down your back about getting your grades up. You no longer have all of those things. You have the CPT, you have the OPT team, right? That's who you have left. And it is our job to follow you until you are complete with OPT, whether that be in 1 year, whether that be in 3 years, whether you come back to us and get another degree and then I have to deal with you for another 1 to 3 years. The OPT, the International Employment Team, is who will be following you from that point, right? So there are certain reportings that we have to do in SEVIS for you every 6 months to a year. There's certain reports that we have to do. There's certain things that we are required to do by law to make sure that you're staying in compliance even while you're on OPT. Bear in mind, you are still an Avila University student. And then make sure you treat yourself and others with, kindness and respect as you enter the workforce. So, if you have an RFE, if you get an approval, if you get a denial, if you have an EAD card issue, if you got a new job, if you got fired from your new job, whatever it is, make sure that you're keeping us in the loop, right? We cannot help you and we cannot give you suggestions. We cannot advise you if we don't know what's going on. All right. And then again, if I don't know, I can't advise or assist. Monica Lomax, that's me. And this concludes our webinar series. Now, for everyone who is on Avila University campus, um, I will be hosting an I-765 workshop next week on May 25th in 2 sessions. It will be in the Whitfield Conference Room. And what I want you to do, for all of those who want to take part of this, collect all of your documentation that you need And we'll have a couple of laptops set up so that all students can go ahead and fill that application, that I-765 application out, and I'll be right there to help you with it. We also have a workshop for our students who are not in the Kansas City area, and that is going to be set up Thursday, the very next day. I have my calendar or my appointments thoroughly opened full Thursday. I have 30-minute sections to look and go over these OPT applications with students. Of course, we know spots are limited for that. So if you are interested in the virtual, please let me know and I will get you scheduled in. And that was all I had for you today. I really hope that everybody enjoys the rest of your day. And I just want to take this moment to say how grateful I am to be able to witness you guys enter this journey in life. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.